Hey everyone, welcome back to the series. This week I'd like to do a spotlight on one of my absolute favorite graphic novel series, Lock and Key. This was a comic book series I discovered back in 2011. It is by Joe Hill and phenomenal artist Gabriel Rodriguez. This was one of the first horror books I had read that really impressed me. I'm very particular about horror in any medium, and I guess you could call me a little bit of a horror snob. That's fair. Luckily, Joe Hill does not phone it in. He is a phenomenal writer, and the horror, the fantasy, the creativity on display in this series is incredible. So the story centers around the Locke family. And after witnessing their father's brutal murder in the very beginning, the family relocates cross-country to Lovecraft, Massachusetts to sort of try to start over and to live in their father's ancestral home, Key House Manor. Key House is filled with over 101 keys, according to Joe Hill. Many of those you see utilized in the series. These keys possess a wide range of magical abilities. The ghost key, for instance, the first time BODE finds it, he is able to locate a certain door in the house, and when he opens the door and crosses the threshold, he becomes a ghost, leaving his physical body lying there seemingly dead while he floats around as a spirit. And when he crosses back through the threshold, his spirit inhabits his body, bringing him back to life. Now, as with any door, some doors are not meant to be opened. And there is an ancient demonic presence waiting or locked behind one of these doors. So without giving too much away, that's the overall premise of the story and where it begins with book one. The artist that paired up with Joe Hill on this is Gabriel Rodriguez, and his art is stunning. It's so lavish and richly detailed. You really feel this world coming to life. And it's exactly the kind of thing this sort of story needs, because the devil's in the details, and in a horror fantasy story as rich as this, you need an artist that brings that rich, lavish texture to the book. I actually found this book before I realized Joe Hill was a novelist. I had not read any of his books until much later in 2013. I believe it was Heart-Shaped Box. That was the first book of his that I read, and immediately just loved it. So I've been a big fan of his since 2011, and I really do want to introduce as many people to his works, if they're unfamiliar with his stuff, as possible. Beyond that, if you go back to the start of the series, my very first episode was about one of his latest novels, The Fireman. So I covered his book, The Fireman, and I did an illustration of a key sequence towards the end of the book. So check out that episode if you're curious. Let me know what you think of it. I did have an opportunity to meet him back in 2019 while back in Milwaukee. He was promoting his new book, Full Throttle, a collection of short stories. So I got to meet him and get his autograph and everything, and that was phenomenal. So going into this painting, the themes I really had in mind were just showing a balance between good and evil. And I wanted to feature BODE Locke at the center, surrounded by the black door with sort of all the whispering irons around him. And just this cyclical nature. So it kind of looks like a clock face. And with the omega at the 12 o'clock, and then the alpha key sort of destroying the evil at the bottom down around the 6 o'clock. It wasn't really that I was trying to go for a clock, but it was after the fact it sort of embodied that. But balancing those forces of good and evil and just kind of, you know, boiling it down to one simple image. That's really what I had in mind while painting this. Additionally, a little bit about myself. For those that know me, know I'm kind of a minimalist, a little bit of a neat freak. I don't like to collect junk. I don't have a lot of stuff these days. One thing I do collect are these excellent replica keys from the series Lock and Key that the company Skeleton Crew creates. And they've, I believe, done about 55 of the keys featured in Lock and Key, of which Joe Hill has said that there are 101 keys in this world. So every new key they release, I snatch it up right away. And so I'm building this collection, and I will do something with it, but that's how cool it is. It's kind of like the perfect, if I'm gonna collect a trinket, it's the perfect mix of, you know, it's from something I love, but additionally keys, going back to childhood, they just kind of, they have a great imagination play factor to them. So I remember having ghost keys in my old house growing up, and it's a story starter. The idea you have a key, what does it unlock? What does it do? So this is something as well, while at Lego, you know, we learned about a lot of these play starters, things that kick off the imagination. And a key, a simple key, no matter what it is one of those things. So for me, collecting these keys is more than just kind of collecting a trinket. There's something there. I love it. It gets my imagination firing in all the ways that his excellent series does. Once again, that does it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let me know what you think. If you've read the book, I'd love to hear from any other fans of Lock and Key. And yeah, hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.